This programme is proudly sponsored by BYD, the #1 electric vehicle in the world and the fastest growing brand in the UK car market. BYD in Super League Raw, building our dreams together. And the home of Super League Raw, the Bluebell in Warrington. Make this your pre- and post-game destination for the best food and drink in town. It's a Thursday, it's 6 p.m, it's time for the Captain's Run, in-depth analysis and round 16 predictions. Let's start the show. Yes, welcome to the Captain's Run, and the eagle eyed amongst you knows that we've got Leeds Rhinos passionate fan and Super League Raw member Alex Sharp with us this week. Hello, matey. Are you well?
I'm good. Looking forward to the game in an hour's time. Hopefully, it's a competitive one.
Couple of hours time as we go out. Couple of hours time as we go out. This is pre-recorded. Somebody in the chat last week gave us a bit of grief because we were talking about the Warrington Leeds teams, saying, "Oh, they're already out." We pre-record these ones for your pleasure at 6 p.m. So as the it's 13:23 at the time of recording, just in case people are wondering out there. Let's catch up on the league table. Here it is, and of course Huddersfield still propping up the division, and then of course above them the three teams that have come up into Super League. Before we have FC, Castleford Tigers, and then Catalan. Sharpie, your take on the new sides at this stage? Of course, this has been a week whereby they have been saying, "Oh, maybe the right, maybe the wrong for Super League." I'll get that right in a minute. There you go. Maybe the right, maybe the wrong for Super League. What's your impression been of these new three sides halfway through the season?
I feel like they are where I think most people predicted them to be in the bottom three. Coming up, obviously, two of them didn't get the full money worth. Yeah. So they're in a league. It's like two leagues in one. And as the season's gone on, that's what's come. If you look at the wins, but when you look at them, it's for the wins they are getting. Apart from there's been a few standouts. Obviously, Bradford beat Catalan. Was a shock, and then you've had York who beat KR first round, which was the biggest shock of the season so far.
Toulouse Wakey round one.
Yeah, so they've all had them, but as the season's gone on and injuries and everything that takes part of a season, you're starting to see the difference in the teams from the very top to the bottom, but it's like a separate league. And from 10th downwards, I believe they can beat anyone, but from above that, I feel like they struggle.
Yeah. It's. Again, I think people need to realise in terms of Toulouse and in terms of York, we can't state this enough. Half the distribution had 4 weeks to plan. That's they need this winter that's coming to regalvanise, get the squads that they want, and go again in 2027. Would you be disappointed if these three teams, or one of these three teams, if it was to remain a 14-team comp, would you be disappointed if one of these miss out for London?
If a team was going to miss out, Dave, for me, it would have to be the team that finished last. If it in the competition to make it fair, it wouldn't be fair if York somehow finished 11th and then they got cut, or same as Toulouse, which I don't think Toulouse are in. I don't think Toulouse will be in the conversation because they want to expand the sport. So I think the two French teams are safe. And I think Bradford, they're going to Vegas. So the only two that you're really looking at is Huddersfield or York. And obviously that's the big discussions lately. So for me, it would be out of, if Huddersfield, as we'll speak later on in the show, they've got a few games coming up where there should be 50-50s. If they get above York and York go down, then that's fair. But if Huddersfield finish bottom, then they need to be in the conversation.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting indeed. And of course, that's where we're going to be starting our discussions in a minute. But before we do, let's take a look at the top 7, because that makes you very happy, Mr. Sharp. Leeds Rhinos in great position now. Of course, 2 points clear of Warrington after what was a very, very comprehensive win from the Rhinos last week at the wire. Then, of course, the Robins, who, of course, go up against the Rhinos. We'll be getting into that a little bit later in the show. The Warriors, Waker, Saints. And you look at Leigh there, 4 points behind. Leigh need to start picking up wins, don't they, Sharpie? Because all of a sudden, if they don't, they're going to get cut adrift, aren't they?
They are. And the way the way the fixtures are falling as well. That again, like you've just mentioned, Dave, there's only Rhinos and KR who are playing each other in that top bit, and that everyone else is playing someone in the lower table. So that's another. Will there be an upset this week? And who knows? But that's another week not to crawl back. If they all win, the points will stay the difference. So they need to start. Obviously, as Leigh have got Wire at Magic, and then they've got them in rivals rounds. So they are all still to play, and they have got some games at home from the LSV, which is one of the best grounds in for atmosphere and the home fans getting on top of the away fans. So it's going to be very good, and I feel like the 6 will be made out of this 7 now.
Yeah,
I feel like Catalan, they've got, if you include Magic, they've got 8 away games left, and as we know, the struggle on the road out the last 12. So for me, it will be 6 of these 7 which make our playoffs, which we're looking forward to.
Yeah, it's a tricky task for Leigh this week going to Toulouse. We're going to get into that in a minute. And you're right, they've got Warrington twice in the next 4 after that. In between that, they've got Castleford at home and Hull FC away. So, yeah, they'll be certainly hoping to take the scalps of those teams below them and then look to maybe pick up 1, if not 2 wins against Warrington. I think if Leigh can pick up 4 wins out of those next 5, they'll be in a good place. Right, let's get into round number 16. Starting on Sunday, we always go in reverse order, as you know. Starting Wakefield against Huddersfield Giants. Now, of course, this was a tight game back in round number 2 between these two, but there's no doubt about it. As we take a look there at the tail of the tape, Wakey in 5th, Huddersfield in 14th. What was quite interesting for me in this, and you might not have picked up on this, Sharper, but believe it or not, the Giants have got better odds against Wakefield than they did against Saints last week, which is a bit interesting. I think, when you consider league position this season, Giants odds are shorter this week against Wakey away than they were at Saints the week before, which surprises me somewhat. Does that surprise you? The fact that, I think for me, Wakefield appear to be better at the moment thus far in Super League than Saints. I wasn't expecting the Giants odds to be less than last week.
It just goes to show that whoever's in charge of the bookies, Dave, I don't think they keep up. They just see the team names. And Saints, obviously, it's a name in rugby league. It's the history. So in Wakefield, obviously they're on the climb, but again, 2 years ago they were down there. So they just make these odds up. It's good if you get on the right side of them, though.
Yeah, it is. I mean, just reminding you, let's not forget that 18-16 win at the Giants in round 2. There was a lot of controversy, if you remember, on the Lachlan Walmsley try that was given. Many people thought it shouldn't have been given, and that stuck in the throats of the Giants.
He gave it up as well, didn't he, Dave?
He did. I mean, as far as he was concerned, yeah, you're spot on, mate. So for me, that stays in the throat of Giants fans. But I think since then, Wakefield have hit decent form. Huddersfield have stayed where they've stayed. When you compare and contrast, now, just for the purposes of people that are watching, if it's underlined, it's the worst. That is the worst stat in Super League. So as you can see there, Wakefield have the worst conversion rate at 59% in Super League. That's what that means. If there's a star next to it, it means that they're currently leading in that KPI in the Super League. And just to make this a bit easier for you, Sharper, let's go to Huddersfield. These are unwanted records. Now, I don't know if you knew this. They have won 11 in the last 44 games in Super League.
And some of that 11, Dave, is when Robinson first took over and they got that little bit of a boost last season, and then they fell off a cliff again. Yeah. But it's crazy because in that 11, like we've just been talking that they would be on they'd be in a league of their own against the bottom teams. But in that 11, you've got Wigan, you've got
Warrington last season at the Halliwell Jones. He played really well.
Yeah, you've got teams that you wouldn't expect them to win in that 11. But it's just consistency. And obviously, you spoke on Weekly last night about the new coach coming in saying they're not fit enough. And I can see that because like when Leeds got took over of Brad Arthur for the last 10 games of 2024, he said exactly the same. So some of the Huddersfield players, maybe they're just thinking just riding this out, and that's the culture they need to change if they want to stay.
Yeah. It's a big job he's got on. There's no doubt about that. And like I say, when you look through the KPIs, I mean, I always get concerned when you see that, for example, 31 conceded on average this season, Huddersfield, going up against a team that's averaging 25-4. The average for from Huddersfield, 14 points. When you go into a team like Wakefield, and of course you mentioned the Wigan away, which is an anomaly, really. Let's be honest, that's an anomaly in terms of their form this season. But when you're seeing a Huddersfield Giants side that is only just getting to 14 points on average a game, coming up against a Wakefield Trinity side that, when they're hot, it's hard to think they're going to outscore them, isn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. And the big contest in this one will be the forwards, because the Huddersfield forwards have been getting rolled, and as we've seen on previous shows, the forward pack that Wakefield are building, they can get up the pitch very fast. Yeah.
When they do the interchanges 20-25 minutes in and the cavalry comes on, normally if they're ahead at that point, it tends to be painful. For me, I mean, I think that was the problem when they played Wigan, is the fact that when they made those interchanges, Wigan were already on the front foot. But if Wakefield have got the noses in front and then they make them changes, they look a very, very difficult team. Of course, we'll be posting the tail of the tape on our social medias on Sunday morning in readiness for this game. But yeah, 5 games in a row. Well, I mean, more than that for Huddersfield in terms of losses. 4 wins out of the last 5. Obviously, just that Wigan game where they were well and truly humbled Wakefield Trinity in a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, I mean, look, I don't want to labour this one too much. I think we've got bigger fish to fry. I presume you're going Wakefield by how many?
I've gone Wakefield by 24.
Unbelievable. Exactly the same as me. How mad's that? Exactly the same. I went 28 originally, and then I crossed it out. I went, no, I'll pull it in by 4. How mad is that? Incredible stuff. Yeah. Good luck to Huddersfield. Right, we can now get into some squad selections. We're now going to head over to Odsal. And, of course, this should be being built up as the master versus the apprentice. Of course, Kurt Haggerty was assistant to Paul Rowley at Salford. Of course, these two going toe-to-toe. Haggerty saying they don't keep in touch as much as they should do. Something tells me they'd be having a coffee at full time. As we look at the squads on the screen, you'll notice some big gaps in the Saints squad again. No Darrell Clark. Fortunately for Rowley, he has been able to bring back Jake Burns. That's quite timely, without doubt. Also, of course, you'll see that there's no Mark Percival. Percival also out. So will Nene McDonald be drafted into centre? And is this an opportunity for young Jacob Douglas, who they brought in from Wigan last year? That'd be interesting as well. Also no Whitby in the side, and Whitley is expected to be out for the season. So again, more problems for St Helens. We'll start there, Sharpie. I thought last week, Curtis Sirenen and Nene McDonald, that left edge, look decent. I mean, it was a shocking game, but if you're going to pick some positives out for Saints, Nene McDonald on his return on the left, a try and an assist. Curtis Sirenen could have had a hat-trick, looked pretty good on both sides of the ball, kept his discipline pretty well. That's cause for optimism from Paul Rowley.
Yeah, it is. And like you say, I think Sirenen could have had a hat-trick, couldn't he? He got one ruled out and then he scored the first 2. It's very good. But there's added pressure to St Helens because they didn't score within 25 minutes last week. That you could feel through the TV, you could feel the atmosphere changing. And with Bradford, there's a much narrower pitch, so you won't be able to go as around them as much as they were trying against Huddersfield. I think it'd be down the middle, and it's just been announced that Sutty has just signed 2 years for Bradford as well, hasn't he? The Ryan Sutton. So I think it's going to be a great contest. For me, I think there's more to lose in terms of the feel around St Helens for this, and I feel Kerr can build on that and try and get into Paul Rowley's team. Obviously, they used to be a great duo together. It's going to be interesting to see which team does throw the ball about from the Salford days. I feel like St Helens will go down the middle, and I feel like Bradford will try to hit wide, as the personnel that you've just said is missing.
I think the middle battle is critical. I think both halfback combinations are going to want their forward unit to be on top. And I think that, we saw a bit of Saluka Fafita for Saints. He seems to have started pretty well. I don't think David Clement is the enemy at Saints. I really don't. I think Walmsley does what Walmsley does. Very, very. Those three players are critical, as is Delaney. I think that looking at the two forward packs, I do edge a little bit towards St Helens. I think that's where they might have Bradford. And I do think on that pitch, that is going to be very, very important. It's vitally important that St Helens get on top there. If they don't get on top there, what we do know about Bradford on the edges, Wonga Blake, Ethan Ryan, Connor Wynn, Guy Armitage, they have got the pace and they've got the precision to cause Saints some big problems on those edges.
Yeah. 100%. And like you say, when you're looking at the Saints numbers, the 2, the 5, the 4, the 7, that, like you say, there's got big personality missing. So I think that's where they will try and go around them. And Wacker Blake didn't. One from Greg didn't work out at St Helens. He might come back to bite them this weekend.
Well, absolutely. But let's not forget as well, round 4 when Bradford went to Saints, and it was a cracking game, 26-22. Many people watched that night, felt that Bradford were hard done to in terms of decisions, if you remember. That was the game that they lost.
Should have been a card, shouldn't
they? There should have
been a card.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And St Helens looked gassed in the last 15 minutes and hung on. And then there was that card incident, and Bradford looked on top in that previous game that you're talking about, Dave.
Yeah, and I think that was the game where Jacob Oast went down, which is quite interesting that Jacob Oast is back in the back in contention. But yeah, I think that's what. And again, I'm very interested to see how Host goes, and I think the fact that Whitley is gone, that opens the door for Jacob Host to return in the time. I know Shane Wright's there as well, but I think Host was brought in. He looks. It's going to be interesting to see, does he throw him in somewhere across that back line? It's going to be interesting to see what happens there between them. If we look at the tail of the tape, no surprise, Saints 2-7 on, 5-2. The Bradford Bulls. Saints, of course, there 2 wins in the last 5. So too that for the Bradford Bulls. The defence and the strike stronger for St Helens. They're scoring more tries. But like I say, when you compare and contrast, when you consider St Helens have never not been in the playoffs. We spoke a few moments ago about these new teams that have come up. Those are not bad stats from Bradford when you compare and contrast them to St Helens, And I think where Paul Rowling will be a little bit disappointed is the errors. 168, Bradford at 171. But the fewest amount of penalties in Super League have been given away by the Bradford Bulls, which is interesting. They've also had the least tackle bust as well. And at this moment in time, Saints are running the most from dummy half, which is interesting to take away from that. But like I say, Sharpie, when you look at that tail of the tape, it's not bad from a Bradford perspective, is it?
It isn't. And just to pick up on something you've just said, so Saints got the star next to the dummy runs. But as you've just mentioned, Clark's out this game. Correct. So does that take away that threat as well, as much as it would be? And Bradford will know that he's out, obviously, and may target the ruck area. But yeah, some good stats from Bradford, and the 11th. I think they're higher than at this point than what some teams had people predicted. Sorry. They play a good brand of rugby, to be fair, as well. Because when we went down there as a Leeds fan, it was nip and tuck for the first half, Dave. If you remember, for Leeds, it was a bit edgy, and then the second half, obviously, fitness and stuff like that. But because of the pitch is so compact, I feel this one might be a big game. And if Leigh need help to get into the playoffs, this is one of the games I think they'll be keeping a close eye on to see what happens.
Yeah, I get the feeling this is a big game for St Helens. I really do. And if you remember in that last game, our man of the match at Super League Raw in game number 1 back in week 4 when these two collided was Tristan Saylor. And for me, the 2 players that are picked out for this game are the 6s. And again, Sharper, we paid tribute there to Bradford. Saylor, for me, new contract, deservingly so. He's been very, very good for Saints. But when you look at these 2 players side by side, the thing that really jumps out is Jaden Nicarima's only played 6 games, but look at what he's produced in those 6 games. 4 tries, 2 assists, 21 tackleables, 4 breaks, 8 offloads, 85 carries for an average of 6.7. where would Bradford have been had Nick Arima played 15 games?
Yeah, and there's been a few games. There's been a few games where they've lost by a try or so. So yeah, where would they have been? And they're only building up on that with all the rumours, like you said last night on Weekly about Bateman and stuff like that. So looks like a trajectory for Bradford, and they're trying to get back to where they were. But this is going to be. I had Tristan Saylor, as you know, as man of steel before the year started. I don't think he's at that level because there's been some good players this year in other teams, but this will be a real good battle. But the it's frightening what Saylor can do on the ball, but then, and we've seen it weekly, the kick through the other week, stuff like that. But then, like you say, Jaden, he can produce magic, and he's played half the games, and his stats, his try involvement is 1-to-1. If you look, he's had 4 tries and 2 assists and played 6 games. So I see him. If Bradford do go over, I reckon he'll have his hands on the ball. And the other half, Riley Dean, I think he's been superb since he's come in for Bradford. And he's kicking off the tee. Very good as well. So, like you say, Dave, I think this is a big game because next week, as we know, Saints have got Wigan at Magic.
Yeah.
And then Bradford's got Leeds. So this is a big game in terms of getting ready for next week as well.
I get the feeling that, I mean, just before we carry on the debate, I mean, just a quick note on Saylor. He's been an ever-present pretty much ever since he signed for Saints. And I think that's gone in his favour as well in terms of the new contract. The fact that you can hang your hat on him. He's always there from a fitness perspective. I hope I've not jinxed him, but he's been in that respect, he's been a really good signing. And for me, there's talk about his defence, but show me a fullback that hasn't got an error in him where defence is concerned, especially when they're asked to move into different positions. There's a few great fullbacks that are good in defence, don't get me wrong, but for me, Tristan Saylor at the moment, I think I might have said this last week, he's a bit of a luxury in the fact that I think if we were going back 5 or 6 years now, when Saints were at their best, if you'd have put Tristan Saylor into that side, he'd have took them even higher because he'd have had the pieces around him. I think we've yet to. I think if they can get better personnel around Tristan Saylor, and I think the fact that they've extended his contract suggests that he wants to build a team around Tristan Saylor, or else why would you extend his contract? I think if you can get the right pieces around him, he could be. I think he's been exceptional for the last 2 years. Anyway, he's had a lot of criticism, but I think if you break his numbers down and you look at his contributions, for me, he's been exceptional for Saints.
Yeah, and like you say, Paul Rulli can hang his hat on him. He's played wing, he's played fullback, he's played 6. He hasn't just had a position to play. He gets put where Saints need players, and he does a job when he gets put there as well. And he's got pace to burn, hasn't he? As we've seen him go through the gaps. So yeah, I think the I'd build it. The controversy is: do you build around him at 1 or do you build around him at 6? And that's the headache that Paul has to sort out, not us.
Well, absolutely, it's what he's paid for. But just to remind people, Saylor's performance in that game at the Brewdog: a try, an assist, 6 tackle busts on the night, a clean break, 3 runs from dummy half, 3 offloads, 28 carries for 229 meters. That was some go. That was some go. Before we get into predictions, if I'm a Saints fan, I'm a bit nervous about this game. They weren't great last week against Huddersfield. It's fair to say Bradford are a step up. They've still got a few injury concerns here and there. You've already said it. Next week, they come up against the juggernaut that is Wigan at this moment in time. And realistically, if they don't get 2 points on Saturday, it could be they're outside the top 6 by the end of Magic Weekend.
Yeah, because obviously Leigh have got Warrington and Toulouse this week, and then if they lose against Bradford, and then I think everyone in form would have to go Wigan, even the Saints fans, surely. So I think it's going to be very nervy, and that nervous energy started last week, Dave, at Huddersfield. It took 25 minutes to get past them, and you could feel it through the TV. The crowd was quiet. It wasn't until the 3rd try you started hearing, when the Saints, So it's going to be edgy, this one. I wonder
very,
what you
very Wigan-like. Are you saying it was very Wigan like? In the last 10 minutes, you heard some noise. That's one for the cherry and whites out there.
Oh,
the amount of people that are throwing stuff at the screen now. But anyway, all in jest. Right, where are you going? I think it's a real tough one to call. Where are you going and by how many?
I'm gonna go with Saints. I'm gonna go with Saints. I'm gonna go by 6.
Yeah, I've gone Saints by 8. I just think when you look at even though Saints have got problems, and they have, when you look at the quality, and that's the bit, it's the quality. You're looking at the key positions in the Saints team. They've got the halves. Nicarima on his day, if it's his day, then yeah. But it's one of those. Riley Dean, he's playing well, but I think Hastings is a better standard. You just look at key positions. Like I said, I think the middle battle. I think the Saints pack edges it, which I think is quite critical as well. And it's for that reason I'm going to go Saints by 8. But do you know what? That's one of those games come the end of the weekend where if Bradford have won that, I'm not massively shocked.
I think with the dummy runs that I pointed out earlier, with Clark missing, I think Andy Ackers has got a big game to get that forward pack. If they are going to be down the middle and direct, they needs to get that St Helens pack tired and pick and run a lot, and then try and spread it wide to Blake and Ethan Ryan, who's been superb this year as well.
Yeah, I think the left edge of Bradford, I'm trying to think now, it's going to be, Dagnall. I mean, again, Owen, fantastic last year. He hasn't really got going, Owen Dagnall, this season thus far. It's going to be a big test for him on that right edge in terms of his defence coming up against. And let's be fair, Wonga Blake will need no motivation for this one. Wonga Blake will be chomping at the bit. So, fascinating game. Really looking forward to it on Saturday. It's going to be a tight one, and it could go either way. Just look at the records that could fall. I think Curtis Simmons is going to make his 100th for Saints in this game. So well done to Curtis Simmons. Right, let's go to the game in Toulouse. Toulouse Olympique taking on the Leigh Leopards. I mean, look, they served up a fantastic game, a real fantastic game in round 6. The big news story for Toulouse is Ollie Ashelbot is in the 21-man squad. That is a massive, massive boost, isn't it, for Toulouse coming into this game? He was very good in that last game at the LSV.
It is a massive boost, and the lad that replaced him for the last 2 games, he's been excellent as well. So it's good that he's back, because there was rumours he's broke his wrist and stuff like that. It must have been something slightly less concerning, because obviously he's back, and he's so direct and finds the gaps, which if Leigh defended like they did last week, there'll be some gaps to find. But Leigh've got some returnees as well. They've got Owen Trout, they've got Lamb, and they've also got Josh Charnley back. So they're coming in very strong as well. I don't think Leigh can have much excuses this week, apart from the weather, which will be absolutely boiling over there.
Well, I think it's going to be unusual that I think everybody's got to contend with the weather no matter where they are this weekend, quite frankly, albeit it's very, very hot at this moment in time. I mean, just going back to that game in round 6, I had the pleasure of being there that night, and Toulouse were very, very good, very, very good. Really pushed them all the way. Of course, the Gareth O'Brien drop goal sealing that in Golden Point. It was really all hands to the deck from a Leigh perspective. I thought Brendan Hands that day was colossal. 56 tackles in D. He was absolutely superb. He's having a great season. Ollie Ashell had a good game, got 2 of the assists. Trapiche as well on that one. I don't, he's there? Yeah, he is there. Is Romeo. So he's there. He got a try and an assist. I thought also Laguerre that night, he scored 2 on the left edge and had a real solid knock. They've do you know what? It's mad. Toulouse, for me, are overlooked, and as a Catalan at times, in terms of, other podcasts, mate, don't really get into the detail of these sides. They often fly under the radar, but they have got genuine game winners in there, haven't they, Toulouse?
Yeah, they have, and I think the half Shorrocks, I think he's been good as well on the whole. But the they seem to start too slow and leave a big enough task for them against the bigger teams. Obviously, you remember Toulouse against Catalan. At Catalan, it was a proper ding dong, and back and forth, score and try. So that what they have shown is even against my team the other week, they scored I think it was 4 or 5 tries in about 15 minutes. They've got genuine threat when they attack. They just need to tighten up in the defence and start as they do as they get to the fair thing. Yeah.
Well, the opposite of Huddersfield, Jim Lenihan last week coming out saying his team isn't fit. Well, Toulouse are fit. Toulouse are very fit. No doubt about that whatsoever. And you've already mentioned the fact that, yes, Owen Trout is there. That's a big bonus for Leigh. It's looking probably one of the strongest 21-man squads Leigh have managed to put out this season, and very timely as well, because they're back to where they were 2 seasons ago, where from now until the end of the season, probably every game is probably a cup final for Leigh. They need to get some consistency and some wins under the belt. And like I say, Toulouse will test them. This was the game. So this was, it wasn't. This was the game back in round number 6, 21 points to 20. And you look at that there, it was an unbelievable game. I mean, it really was an unbelievable game. Toulouse were right in it, right the way through it. And they had no right, really. If you look at the completion rate, really poor completion rate. But they stuck in the grind and they really put Leigh right under the cosh. That suggests, looking at that there, that, Leigh should have won that probably more comfortably than they did. But it was a testament to the tenacity of Toulouse throughout that game. They smelt blood, they went for it, and they come very, very close. This, though, is where they sit now in terms of a tail of the tape, Sharpie, he says. There you go. So have a quick look at that as we're chatting around it. And again, when you look at Toulouse, you look at, we mentioned that the worst conversion percentage from a conversion was at Waker. It's getting better at Leigh. I think it goes to show how poor that was at some point. That Cook has suddenly got his kicking boots on, but it's still only 62%. But across the board there, Leigh, for me, it looks good for Leigh coming into this game. Would you agree?
I do. The big one for me there is considering where they are in the ladder. The average against is exactly the same, 20 apiece. So yeah. and there's only three points between the 4. So this could be absolutely 50-50 again. But I just feel like if you look at that Leigh team that you've just put up, I think it's 1 to 17's in. I know that number 2 is missing, but senior would be number two probably next year anyway. So. Yeah. They've got the strongest team they've possibly got. So there should be no excuses this weekend if anything doesn't go to plan. But massive short odds there, 7 to 1. So I think even the bookies are thinking Leigh are going to go over there and do a job. I don't think it's going to be as close as the last game. If I remember correctly off the top of my head, I think Toulouse got a penalty kicked in there just right on the hooter to take it to golden point. That's right. So I don't think we'll be getting golden point, things like that. But I expect a very good game and a fast-paced game at that as well. And I think maybe Josh Charnley extends his lead at the top again as well.
Well, the interesting thing about that first game, Leigh were winning that game by 20 points to 6 at half time. And they had no right really Toulouse to come back. But this is the interesting thing about Toulouse, right? We've played 15 rounds of Super League Sharper. Second half performances standalone. They've drawn 2 and won 6.
Yeah, and that's what I was.
It's mad, isn't it?
That's what I was saying. They need to start out the end. Exactly what you said. Yeah. It's just like they leave too much of a job to do. After 20, it's like they come alive after 20 minutes.
Yeah,
and they're playing a 60-minute game and not an 80-minute game. But normally, it's weird because normally teams play the first 60 minutes, not the last 60 minutes, and drop off. Yeah. Where these get starstruck and then they kick in. So if they can sort that beginning out, I think they're a threat for anyone. As Leeds, as you've seen against Leeds, how many tries they racked up in that 15 minutes?
Absolutely. I mean, look, we don't know when you're going to appear again on Captain's Run. Of course, it's a lottery. It's a round robin type of affair. Leigh, do you see Leigh getting in the six? I mean, do you see them doing what they did back in what would it have been 2024 now and sneaking in at the death?
If the injuries, so now they've got the team, they've got 1 to 17. You've just named it. So as long as the conditioning and they don't get bad with injuries, because obviously against KR, Charnley got a bad cut on his knee. He had to drop out. Lamb dropped out. As long as the injuries are there, I can see them challenging to get in the six. I really do. And your points just set a light bulb in my head. The previous game we've just talked about, they could be in the six within a fortnight if the results go their way. Yeah. So it's going to be very tight. I believe it's out of Leigh, St Helens and Wakefield that drop out personally. Wakefield, they've only beat KR in that top six so far. St Helens, the injuries you've just showed in the team on the previous game, they're missing loads of key players. And then you've got, and Leigh, obviously, they have to be in the question because the 4 points adrift already.
Yeah, well, tell you what, don't count Warrington out. Don't count Warrington. We'll get to Warrington in a bit, but don't count Warrington out. Concern when you consider they are going to be going with the kids, the halfbacks, it would appear. They've got big personnel, in the middle unit. They've got issues there. Going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. It's all to play for me. It's still all to play for. It's only round number 16 after all. Fascinating game. I think before like I say, Toulouse, they have got the strike. They have got the strike to do this. And I think both are going to be caught out by the weather because you can't legislate for the heat that's in south of France at the moment. That is just that's 1 to the 10-year heat wave that they're getting. So even Toulouse are going to be caught off guard with regards to that. So going back to strength and conditioning, it's going to be vitally important for this one. Before we move on, I made a big thing on Turn Out the Lights, and I also mentioned it again. We got Steph's take on it in Weekly last night. I want to pick your brains. Leigh without Lockie Lamb, I was astonished last week in terms of how poor they were in terms of just constantly staying within a 10-metre square of the play of the ball. They weren't putting it out to the edges. That, for me, has been the DNA of Leigh ever since they come up, that they strike on the edges, they get the ball out wide, whether it be a cut-out pass, a good lead runner, whatever it may be. That has been the real focal point of the Leigh Leopards since they came back to Super League. I was astonished how they just didn't even look like that was a part of their game plan against KR. Were you the same?
I feel like Adrian Lamb got the tactics wrong here. It was like what you've said a number of times, Dave. They tried to play down the middle, and I think the Billy Leyland try showed that they got out-muscled on that night. He should not be getting that ball down for it. I think Adrian Lamb was saying they should get £1,000 fine for stuff like that. It was shocking. I think if you take any half out of if you take Jay Connor out of my team, we've seen it against Wakefield last year. To be fair, and Wakefield Wakefield again in the cup. The organisation's going, and you're at a point in the season now where all the systems should be firing. If you're injury free, so be a massive boost having Lamb back, and that's why I've went with Leigh this week. Before we say, but
go on, tell me by how many? How are you going?
I've went Leigh by 10.
Well, I've got a bit more. I've gone 16.
I've went Leigh by 10, and that's just. I think they're going to hit Toulouse out wide with Charnley and Senior, and obviously there's question marks over Cook's kicking. Don't get me wrong. Against Bradford and against Cassie's kicking was on fire. Yeah. But then last week this is the thing, when you're playing the big teams and you're basically to the right or the left of the post, however he was, and he misses it, you're just thinking, what's going on here? Yeah. So if he's out wide in Toulouse, I just think it'll be Leigh by 10.
It's about, I've gone Leigh by 16. I mean, goal kicking tonight, it's your ability to shut the noise down and be able to just focus. Don't take, shut the occasion out, everything out, where the match is out. And this is why, the likes of Harry Smith, Jake Connell last year for you guys, Mikey Lewis in the Challenge Cup final when he slots that one over from the touchline. They're the moments. They're the moments that you pay for. That's how important kicking is. And look, Cook is a good kicker. And I think he's shown glimpses of that already. It'll come good, that. But I think his in-game play has improved dramatically, mate. Really improved as the season's gone on.
He was super. Cook was superb against Bradford, wasn't he? He had his hands on everything. And he made things happen. So I'm not saying he's a bad player and stuff like that. I just think it's confidence with the kicking, and like I say, if you're paying, he got brought into 10-4s to 6s, and the noise at the minute, I don't think it's justified. He's not 10-4 into 6s as often as you've just shown it, that they've got the worst kicking conversion rate at the minute. So that's why I went by 10. Second worst.
Right, so we've both gone Leigh in that one. Right, I don't think we're going to be dilly-dallying too much on this one. Wigan go to Hull FC. FC, of course, last year took a couple of scalps off Wigan. They met, of course, in round 2 this year, 34 points to 6. For those who need reminding, a brilliant win in game 1 between these two sides from the Wigan Warriors. Jay Field that day getting a brace, Eckersley on the score sheet as well for Wigan. Good news in the fact that, of course, Lewis Martin, he's back in the squad for Hull FC. But Hull FC have got so many players out. And again, very similar to what we were saying early in the piece when we were talking about, when you compare and contrast the personnel, there is no real comparison here. Not only man for man, do I think that in most cases, Wigan have got them. I mean, Lewis Martin this year, second season syndrome, hasn't. I know injuries curtailed it a little bit, but not looked as good. Whereas Noah Hodkinson's come in and he's just frightening how well he's playing. Is Noah Hodkinson. Let's stay there just for a moment. That's a big decision when Liam Marshall comes back, isn't it, Sharpie, where he's concerned? It
is a very big decision. I feel like we're seeing. I think Marshall's good, very good, but I don't think he's got the pace. Even the pace he's got, and he's just playing rugby, eyes up. There's no system, same as Farriman. They're just playing rugby, eyes up, and because the team around them, because they never feel like they're going to concede, and they've got the personnel around them, they've got the freedom to play with their eyes up. They're not like it's not like they're in a system, and we've seen that. We've seen that when the half come in the other week when they played the 2 halves. Against Catalan. You're seeing that. They didn't have no system. They just played freed up rugby, and we've seen some brilliant ties that night. And that's credit to Matt Pete. And obviously the last few weeks, Dave, it's not even like they're demolishing the bottom teams, they're demolishing the teams around them. Leeds by 20, KR by 30, Wakefield took them apart at their place. They're just demolishing everyone around them. Last week, obviously, they put 72 on York, and before and you've just mentioned, Dave, that FC got a lot of personnel missing. Even when they didn't have personnel missing back in February, Wigan won 34-6. So this could be another cricket score because they are absolutely firing.
But there is a bit of good news, for the eagle-eyed amongst you there. James Bell is back. Zach Hardacre is huge. That's massive. Many were very concerned when Zach went off against Warrington that was going to be a much lengthier layoff. But great to see that he's back in contention, is Zach Hardacre, and that's quite timely. Only one change for Wigan. Lucas Mason replaces George Marsden. That's it, and I wouldn't expect Lucas to feature, quite frankly. Just staying on Noah Hodkinson for a moment. Look, we're going to get to your Leeds Rhinos in a while. And, of course, everybody's been talking Maker Sivo, mate. And look.
I know what you're going to say. I think, is it like 11 tries in 5 games or something like
mate,
this for this young lad?
It's ridiculous, mate. So, look Sivo, I think, again, look, I think Sivo, for me, 15 metres out, if you're giving him space, you've got no chance. And he scored... A lot I think half of his tries have probably been gimmies. Over you go. And that's down to Ash Handler. But he has scored also some of those real blockbuster, right? No, don't argue. Just running without any real care for his own body or health. He just runs at a fullback, knowing full well that he's like a 10-pin bowler, innit? It's just like, give me any skittle you want from 50. I'm knocking you down. So that's Sivo. And rightly, he's getting a lot of plaudits. And rightly, he's probably, at the moment, he's a shoo-in for a dream team. He can't not be with that level of conversion rate. But yeah, Hodkinson, 7 in the last 2. But just put that to one side. He's played 7 games in Super League this season and scored a hat-trick in 3. One of them was 4. So a 4 in 1 and 2 hat-tricks. Now that is incredible. When you consider how many plaudits Sivo's getting for his hat-tricks this season in terms of hat-trick ratio. For that young man, Sivo has been there, done it. He's an NRL legend. You know, he's at the back end of his career, and he is who he is. This is a young kid starting out, and it's almost, dare I say it, another Lewis Martin, where this year he's come onto the scene and he's nailed it, absolutely nailed it. I think I think a lot of people are admiring him, and I think a lot of people are, you know, he's a good player, this kid. But forget he's a kid. His numbers are as good as anybody's, regardless of age. It's exceptional what he's doing.
It is, and that's the system, he's in, because the was it Farrimond or Field, the kick over, the one where he caught and goes in. That was fantastic for me. That was try of the week for me.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. Eyes up rugby. But like you say, everyone's saying that Steve-O's had 5 hat-tricks amongst these 25 tries he scored this year. He's had 5. But like you've just said, this this lad's had 3, and he's played a quarter of the games. Yeah. He's played half the games, and he's had 3. So, like you say, Dave, it's going to be a massive task for Matt Pete to get Lee Marshall back in, because to get French back in, because Farrimond's playing, to get French back in, it's okay to sit French on the bench, but you can't sit French and Marshall on the bench. So it's going to be a tough conversation with one of them.
Well, I'll tell you what's going to be interesting where Marshall's concerned. I'm just going to throw this out there, his salary cap. And because of how well Hodkinson is playing, when his contract comes for negotiation, I don't think it's going up. It's going to be coming down. And then, of course, you've got these other teams that are coming in, the Londons and the likes, which we were expecting next year. Liam Marshall, with his try-scoring pedigree, all of a sudden, you know, I'm not being funny, but the problem could be took away from Wigan, because Liam, I mean, and then it's going to be down to Liam Marshall. Does he want to potentially take a pay cut but remain at Wigan because that's where his heart is? Or does he want that last hurrah and a big contract elsewhere? And that's going to be very, very interesting indeed when that one comes around. Statistically, well, quite frankly, it is what it is. The big surprising one there is the average against for Wigan, 20 against, which is a bit, you know, I mean, obviously that's taken into account. They did have the lull when they had the likes of Harry Smith out, etc. We know that they've been in just incredible form. But you talked about some of the interesting stats. Wigan Warriors, the least dummy runs in Super League with 51. And we know that's not Brad O'Neill's game. And we know that would probably be higher had they not departed Cruz Lehman. But it's quite interesting, isn't it? That, you know, they're not really running from dummy half. And I think that's tribute to the supporting cast, in the fact that Brad O'Neill doesn't need to run, because when they get on a roll, he's got that many willing runners either side of him. He doesn't need to go himself. He's already got the structures in place to just pass it on and off they go. Yeah,
and that, I think that's why they're scoring so many, because if you look at FC's dummy runs, it's 149. The last 3 pages they've been 100 plus, and then you look at Wigan, they're only on 51. But what we're going to do when they're going round you, and that's why Noah's getting so many tries, because they've got the speed and the hands, and it's frightening when they go out wide. They are on red hot form. And honestly, I don't see anyone in the league beating them at the minute.
No, they are absolutely phenomenal. Again, that tail of the tape, it's not good reading if you're a Hull FC fan looking and comparing and contrasting the tape. There are pockets, don't get me wrong, but I think Wigan I think if we did those stats based on the last 5 games for Wigan, I think they'd be over the hill and far away. And of course, the other problem that teams have got is the strike power. It's everywhere. You know, Fielder scored 11 this season. Hodkinson scored 12. Eckersley on 13 in Super League. Wardle 6. Kieran 7. Farriman 5. Even Bevan French has got 5. You know, they've got you all ends up at the moment. They've got you all ends up. It's not that they're relying on a particular individual. The whole team is contributing to their strike power. I'm just going to go shoot straight from the hip. Sorry, Hull FC fans. I'm going Wigan by 36, and some people might think that's conservative. Maybe it is, but I think Matt Pete takes a 36-point win in this one, especially with the heat and what we've got. So I'm going 36.
And this is the problem with predict this game, Dave, because I've just reeled off Wakefield. They beat Leigh by 54. They beat Wakefield by 30 plus. They beat Leeds by 20. They've beat KR by 30. You sound 36 sounds. Oh, he's just been one side. But when you put the results they've racked up recent, the 72 against York. When you put the games that they've racked up when they've had a full strength team, that I've gone by 42. So I don't think.
I'm not surprised it starts with 4. I mean, I debated that, and I did. Away, It's not been a good hunting ground. Certain teams struggle at certain grounds. Yeah, I'll just put that out there. And
I was going to mention that when Wigan were on fire before, and everyone expected them to go to Hull and win before, that Hull actually did turn them over in a tight game, didn't they? But I don't think that will happen this weekend. But there's a bit of hope there and like you say, the big credit to FC as well, because I was saying this in the members WhatsApp group that they're still getting 12,000 through the door, and they're not. I don't think anyone has them competing for the top 6 or honours, and the numbers they're getting through the door is fantastic. Yeah. So they've got something to build on there as well.
Total respect for the fans. Incredible, Hull FC, year in, year out, absolutely.
Considering what they've went through this year as well, Dave, with John Cartwright, the injuries and everything like that. It shows that no one's bigger than the team and the back and the back of the club more than anyone else on the field or in charge of the field. So raps to FC, yeah.
Well, what was it? Do you know what? I've pulled the legs of black and white supporters for 5 years, and people know that I have. But you know what? I've probably never publicly said this, but you'd be hard pushed to say that they're not the most loyal fans in Super League. You'd be hard pushed not to say that.
That was the debate in the WhatsApp group, because obviously, as people might not know, but I go to every game, and I was saying that FC's probably brings the best support to Headingley. It's all right, KR and Wigan and saying, "Yeah, we bring this many, but yous come because you expect to win. FC come because they're there, you know." So I reckon they're up there, Dave. Definitely in the top 3 for me. Watching from a home team to away fans of the best travelling team. Yeah,
we're not just travelling, home support. It's hard to, but for a team that has been devoid of hope and devoid of trophies, for them to be consistently getting, the crowds that they do, all credit to them. All credit to them. That's support. That's what it's all about. So, good luck to him. But unfortunately, I don't think it's going to do much good this week. Was Amir there? Was Amir in the squad? Let's just have a quick look. Is Amir there? Yeah, he is. So Amir, it's not all bad. Amir's going to make his 100th career appearance. That's something to celebrate if you're an FC fan. So well done to Amir. But there you go. Right, let's get to this one. Do you know what? Great. I think this could be a brilliant game. Forget the league position. If you want to watch a game of rugby league this weekend, that could be a real good arm wrestle. I think this one could deliver. I really, really do. Castleford Tigers against York. York have got a run of fixtures now that I do believe that they're going to need to pick up some wins, or else, like I say, the right
thing is for York, Dave. I hope Cas fans don't look at that Wigan game and I think they've already won this one, because it wasn't so long ago that Cas went to wire, got absolutely destroyed as well, 72 points. And then the next week they turned it round and won the game. So like you say, I think this game's going to be a great game. I feel like if Cas win, I feel like this puts them ahead from that chasing pack as well. Do you know what we were talking about earlier? Yeah. So I feel like there will be 10th or 9th come end of the season, because FC have got a lot of people to come back in the next 12 weeks as well. But I'm proper fascinated by this one. It sadly for me, I'll have to watch this one on repeat, because obviously I'll be somewhere else on Friday. I'll be at HQ, but very fascinating, and I'm loving what Car's doing with Cas. But for me, they need more consistency, because it's win-loss, 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 and then they've lost 2, won 2. Now can they win 2? They won 2, then they've lost 2, and now they've won again last week. Can they do it again? And try and build on them points? But you can see they're building for next year, Dave, and I think Carr. I think you mentioned it on Weekly, getting rid of Asworth. It must not be part of his plans, because you were shocked, same as me. And I think he's building what he wants to build there. And I think he's got the backing of Chester by the look of the rumours signings and the signings that are coming out already. So, this is a very fascinating game.
I think Ryan Carr's the John Cartwright of 2026. I think we were all impressed with John Cartwright last season in terms of, say 2025. Sorry, when he went in there, I thought he was really, really good. And I think Ryan Carr's another breath of fresh air. It's he talks well. he talks very honestly, which I think is to his credit. And if you remember back in round 11 when these two met the last time, it was a great game. York went in 18-12 at half time, and then Cass won the second half, 12 points to 0 to win 24 points to 18. Sam Wood, of course, getting a try, which he fully enjoyed against his former side. But the interesting thing about these two sides going into this game, we'll get into the squads in a second, is the way both teams ended last week. Castleford superb. Yeah. First half, Castleford absolutely superb last week. And then the second half, again, just limped to a final win. Whereas York, we said on Weekly, and I'm sure you'd agree, a lesser team, a team that hasn't got the right mindset. And that's the key. Mindset shows itself in big defeats. I mean, and dare I say Castleford at Warrington is case in point. Yeah. Castleford at Warrington was down tools. And Ryan Carr was very concerned and was very damning of his team. Whereas what we saw for the Wigan, York didn't down tools. They had their best spell of it. And people say, maybe Wigan took the foot off the gas. Well, maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But in terms of York, they carried on playing. And I thought for that last 15 minutes, had they have played that way for the whole game and had been as competitive that for the whole game, it wouldn't have been the blowout score that it was. So those two teams for me ended last week's game, which will give, from a Mark Applegarth perspective, will give them hope. And from a Ryan Carr's perspective, gave him ammunition in terms of, lads, nothing's won until it's won.
Yeah, correct. And again, it backs up our point that we were saying earlier, Dave, about Toulouse coming alive in the last 20. And that's exactly what happened last week against Cass. But focusing on Cass, they let some... Leeds went through it. We were playing 60, 70 minutes, not 80 minutes, and we were getting caught at the back end of games where Cass, exactly what happened last week. I thought they were superb. I don't think it was Toulouse were playing bad last week. I thought Cass did play really good. But like you say, it's about consistency now and Carr getting his own stamp on the team. And these games for Cass, if they want to be 9th, 10th this year and build for next year, with the signs they've got, this is a must-win for them. With a few other games they've got coming up.
Yeah, it's a big one. Semi Alame back. Of course, he's back after his 3-game ban. I think there's a player in that lad. I really do. I want to see him now get a run of games because the bits I've seen of him I really like. Daniel McIntosh is the one that's dropped out for him. I don't know if he's been dropped or if there's an injury there. That I'm not quite sure on. But yeah, Darnell is the man that makes way. The good news for York is that Paul McShane is back.
Yeah,
that's a big bonus for them. The surprise for me, and I said this again in Weekly, and it's happened again this week, King Yawa not been recalled from Newcastle. And when you look at their middle unit personnel, look, I think Jack Martin's a very willing front rower. Not the biggest. Puts himself out there, good defensively. He'll throw himself about. He'll run his blood to water for the cause. But for me, you look at that, they are heavily reliant on Vaughan and Barr. And I think to have that extra big unit in there I'm a bit surprised that King Yawa isn't a part of this squad at the moment, coming in off the bench here.
Well, I couldn't pronounce his name when he played for Leeds, so I won't be trying to pronounce it on the show either. But yeah, King, you like you were saying, Dave, they needed a bit of. They only had one prop on the bench last week, which and then people are saying I don't think they would have done much against Wigan anyway. But the size matters, and especially in this game where you need to try and get pitch through the middle and then expand. But and people are saying that Castleford's pack is a bit small, but Tyler Dupree, since he's come over, he's putting a real punch in, and they're getting amongst it. So, like you say, this is going to be a very good game, and you've got the stats up now, and there's not much in between all of them. To be fair, they're both scoring the same amount of points on average, and York just slightly 31, but I guess that's had a little bit of an increase with last week's hammering.
Yeah, I think the thing for me here is there's two things that, from a York perspective, I think they've just got to maybe just take a view on, is what I would say. The first is, of course, the missed tackles. You know, there's over 100 difference between them 15 games in terms of missed tackles, and that's a concern. You don't want to be missing that level of tackles. And then the other thing as well is the amount of offloads. You know, you look at Castleford, the least amount of offloads in Super League with 85, coming up against a team who've offloaded 132 times. They have 132 times where it's come off for him. with that comes the errors. And again, 146 errors, 235, not an awful lot in between that, very close on penalties. And I think that York have got to be a little bit more clinical in terms of where they choose second phase. I think they've got to wait. If they're going to do second phase, I think they've got to almost be disciplined to say, when we're 30 metres out, and we've got the tackles in the bag, go and express yourself, go and chance your arm, go and see if you can get the overlaps, etc. I've seen a little bit this year where they're doing a bit of that in their own half or just before halfway, and that's catching them out a little bit. So for me, I think they just need to rein that in a little bit. Obviously, defensively, I think, again, any team that's had to chop and change like they have had, especially on the edges this season, they have, of course, had many injuries out on the edges and, of course, at fullback as well. It's not surprising that they're struggling defensively. Trust on your inside shoulder comes through repetition, as we all know. And I think that's why Leeds are doing so well, is the fact that, it's a pretty structured,
And I feel that's why Cass's is that left side, Gary and Maps. Obviously, they've got that connection now, and that's starting to shine through for Cass as well on that side. I believe it's the other side that's Cass's problem. So you want to attack the other side. So completely agree, Dave.
Yeah, I think, look, there's nothing in the stats, absolutely nothing in them. I think it's going to be another close game. I think it's got the feel of having another close game to it. 5-1 at York, 1-8 on the Castleford Tigers. A player that shone last week, and I don't think he's shone that much, I'll be honest with you, he's had pockets, was Dejan Arce, of course, was in our team of the week. A lot of talk he's moving on at the end of the season, but he had a superb performance last week. A try, 2 assists, 3 busts, 1 break, 9 attacking kicks, 14 in general play, had his hands on the ball 10 times. I think we've had a good game as well. And we haven't been able to say that much this season, that those two have shown up in the same game. They did, I thought, first half especially. Can he repeat that? Are we going to see a repeat performance from Dejan or not? Because I think that will have a big say in if it's close and who the eventual winner is.
Well, this is the thing, Dave, with some players. Obviously, like you said, the rumours are out there now that both halves for Cass are moving on. And then all of a sudden they start playing well. I had it at my own team, 2022. Blake Austin got told he was moving on. Next thing you know, he was in. He turned into a different half all of a sudden. So maybe that's a factor in. He's trying to show Carr, like, I'm not part of your plans. This is what I can do, and showing him positively on the pitch. But I think, like you say, it's going to be. It's that edge, and that edge is getting better. Maps and Gary, they're trusting each other, and because they're getting better, it affects everyone on the inside, doesn't it? So if you're passing the ball, it makes you look better and stuff like that. And but I think he could repeat the performance. And like you say, if the rumours are true that they are off both halves, maybe they're just showing that this is what we could have done it with a bit of belief.
Yeah, I thought he was very, very good last week, and credit where credit is due. I mean, I know they've not played each other for a long time, but here's an interesting one for you. In fact, it's the Rugby Football League for this one. York's last away victory against Castleford was 9-4 in the First Division on the 4th of April, 1975.
I wasn't even born, Dave.
Well, there you go. And neither was I, and that's a rare thing, isn't it? That's a rare thing for me to be able to say that. Neither was I. Now, look, if York are going to get anything out of this game, I've picked 3 players that I think are vitally important to them. Paul Vaughan, Paul McShane, and Mata Arthur at fullback. I think the latter, he's coming back from injury, and certainly in those early rounds. I mean, I saw him in close quarters when they played Warrington at York earlier in the season. He's a handful. When he's on. He's an absolute handful. I think Vaughan, because he's going to have to do big minutes, and he's going to have to win. He's going to have a real impact against Castleford to get them on the front foot. And I think, there's no doubt about it, despite his age, York look a different team when Paul McShane is in the middle. And I think these 3 players, for me, have got so much on their shoulders going into this game at the One Ball this weekend. If these 3 show up, they have a fighting chance, the York.
Yeah, it's not just his playing ability of Paul McShane, it's his organisation. He's been around the game a long time now, and it's his leadership that he brings with it as well. And maybe that's something that we're missing in the last few weeks, where to try and get people round. Certain players can make other players get them round the field and make them better. And I feel like Paul McShane's one of them. And Paul Vaughan, like you say, he's going to have to do big minutes there. 95% efficiency there, which is very good at this stage of the season. But the worry for York, Dave, is when Vaughan comes off and needs a breather, like you say, because the other props aren't, no disrespect, but they're not at the standard of what Vaughan's been at his time at Warrington and his time at York. He's shining again, yeah.
I think VAR's got it in him. I think VAR's had some good games. I mean, when these met in round 11, VAR carried the ball 14 times and made 120 metres, which is not to be sniffed at. So VAR's got it in his game. But I think, Running Yawa, I mean, this is the mad thing, right? When these two met in round 11, Running Yawa scored a try, ran the ball 20 times for 141 metres, tackled 38 times and only missed 2. And that's the thing that is just of all the things that have come out of York in the last 2 weeks. It is surprising me that Runny Yawa is not currently being selected, because I think he could add a dimension off the bench that they could do with at the moment. But what do I know? But very, very interesting. Like I say, those 3 players, and again, we'll post these out on our socials so you can take a look at the stats side by side. But these 3 players are going to be critical. Let's get to the result. Which way are you going and by how many?
I've gone Cass by 16.
I've gone by 10.
I think Gary will cause the threat. He's in great form at the minute, and I feel and that's where it will be won on that edge. I think Maps. My thoughts from the social the other week. I think he's in one of the. I think he's in the top 5 centres this season for me. He's so everything positive Cass do. He has a hand on the ball in that moment. So, and that's why I've went with Cass 16 against York. I feel like York's biggest test, Dave, will be Magic next week against Huddersfield.
Big game that. That's a big game for both sides. I think that opens Magic, doesn't it? That's the opener.
On the Saturday, is it? Yeah.
That's the Saturday opener, which I think again, just as a rugby league purist, as a rugby league purist, you're going to sit there and watch that, and you're going to think, we could be in for a game here. I think it'll ebb. I think it'll flow. I think it'll be fantastic.
I think this year's a bit different. Obviously, you'll do the show again next week before Magic, but I think this year's Magic's a bit different, because at Newcastle, when you used to have like Toulouse and someone else on the first game, there wasn't many in the stadium. Where I feel like because of the ticket sales and that, the stadium's going to be there's going to be a lot more eyes on these games next week, and a bigger occasion.
Yeah, let's hope so. And I think they've been very, very clever in the fact that they put Warrington Leigh last game on the Saturday and Wigan Saints last game on the Sunday. You'd hope that those fans are going to turn up early and enjoy a full day of rugby league. And I think, based on where the stadium is, I think that was very, very, it was the right thing to do. And I think they've absolutely nailed that. Right, let's get to let's take you to Disneyland, mate, because you must be over the moon. Here we go. Leeds Rhinos. I said on, I think it was Turn Out the Lights.
Turn the lights. Yeah.
At the start of the season, would I have had Leeds in pole position? No. Would I have been thinking that they had a genuine shot at OT? Possibly, but I wouldn't have been totally convinced. Whereas now I am convinced that they have got a genuine shot at OT. I'm still holding my water in terms of, do I think they can win it? I think the Wigan performance is a concern. And that's why I think this one is massive. Because, last week, we'll get to Warrington and you in a minute. Last week is last week. KR are a different proposition to Warrington. Completely different proposition to Warrington. I think it's a big game. I mean, it's a really, really big game. If Leeds win this on Friday night, I think all of a sudden, anybody who's doubting Leeds will doubt no longer. If they can get a double over KR, KR are bruised. KR are going to come and they're going to be hunting. They want revenge. No doubt about that whatsoever. But if Leeds can do what they've been doing, if they can get a win over KR, all of a sudden, it's game on. As a Leeds fan, are you sitting there surprised, or did you always think this was in their game for this year?
Oh, I believe the Brad Arthur. So he at Leeds, you get a gold members night where you can attend and all the players and the coaches there. And he said that after he signed the contract and he announced he was staying, he said that top four was his aim last year. Top two is the aim this year, and then they'll go on and on. I feel some Leeds fans might not agree with me. I feel like it's now. Because next year, I feel like there's too many changes. I feel like we'll still be in the six, but we won't be as dominant as we have been in some games this season. Because even the Wigan game that you mentioned, even though we got beat by 20, Dave, if you look at the stats, I feel like they all wavered on us. They just went wide and exposed us. But I feel like our forward pack is the fittest and is the fit. I don't know about stats and stuff. I just feel like the games I watch live, Dave, I just feel like our forward pack gets on top of every forward pack. The only game that I've watched them where they've struggled is the 20 minutes against Wakefield in the Challenge Cup, the last 20 minutes in Wakefield in the Challenge Cup, and FC, surprisingly, are the only two games where I thought, wow, what's going on here with our forward pack? But as you can see, our strength and condition team need a pay rise or something, as we've got 1 to 17 available there. The only number that's missing 16, which is Ethan O'Neill, which is out on loan. Jack Baird's come over from the NRL. Brad Harford brought him over. I think he's promised him a few grapes and stuff, said you'll get in the team. Newman's went away, come back, different man. And now he's playing reserves on Friday. Everything just positive coming out of Leeds, and it's a good time to be a fan. But like I say, the amount of personnel that we're losing next year, and Brodie Croft, a spine player as well, we're putting trust into kids, which isn't a bad thing, as we've just mentioned. The Wigan kids, the flying with the chance they've got. So it's. I feel like this season's now, Dave. We have to win something this season. The Shield. I don't think. Personally, I think Wigan. I picked Wigan. If you ask Craig Forbes, I think he'd done a members roundup, and I think I picked Wigan to win the lot from round one. So I still feel like Wigan's the strongest team and the most connected team. But I feel like we're in with a chance, and KR's not to be wrote off either. Like people, I'm in a few groups with Leeds fans, and they're getting giddy about this one. Obviously, they've got some personnel missing, like Arthur Morgan and Joe Burgess has been ruled out, and then there's a few rumours. There's a few other players.
Yeah, Jez Litton's again. I think whether it's right, whether it's wrong, could be touching though.
Even Sam Luckley's went out and he comes off the bench, doesn't he? So he's not named in that 21.
No, Sam Luckley, Joe Burgess out of the squad for injury. But Gildart back though. Gildart back.
But the thing is that we will be playing this. The last time we played, I know that we put a big score on them, but last time they just won the World Cup Challenge, and the last 20 minutes of that, it was like a boxer out on his feet, and then they went to Vegas and they took they were still part. I'm not saying they weren't professional, but they were still happy on a high from winning. This is going to be a completely different game, and they're still, even though people saying we're missing this, we're missing that. I feel like the KR team that they're going to name, they probably have Broadbent fullback, Booth, Highu, Gildart, Davies, and then the May Lewis, and then it's going to. That's the thing with Sue is there's rumours about him as well, but Sue more Leyland, they've still got from 1 to 17. It's not the best, but still fantastic. It's still a very good team. It's
going to be a good game. Well, I'm hoping it's going to be a good game. We need this to like we said on Weekly last night. We need a game to spark. Really fry some life into the competition, and this should be it. Leeds are in great form. They're coming up against KR, who, like I say, they've got something to. I mean, they're filthy over Vegas. They're absolutely, there's no doubt about it. I mean, look, this was Vegas. I mean, it was unbelievable. This was Vegas, 58 points to 6, and I think when you look at this, neither side completed well, but it was almost perfection. Almost perfection from Leeds. The completed sets 8 more than KR on the night. The error count was a lot less. But you look at it right the way down. Look at the missed tackles for KR, 51. I mean, that
won't happen on Friday.
No, never exactly that. So you look at that post-contact meters. I mean, 200 more for the Rhinos. Again, very unlikely that's going to happen as well. Whereas you look at Leeds were just on fire. I mean, look at the meters. You kept them to 831 meters. I mean, that's just ridiculous. And you've nailed it, mate. You've absolutely nailed it. You're not getting that. You're not getting that this week. Never in a million years are you getting that this week. This is where it currently sits in terms of after 14 games, of course, for KR, 15 games for the Leeds Rhinos. This is the tail of the tape, the two teams side by side, and that looks a hell of a lot closer, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, mate. And like I say, that they've brought in Junior as well. So even though Sam Luckley's out, Junior's in. They've still got a very good team. It's going to be an hard task. It's going to be nothing like Vegas. The World Cup Challenge is over. Everything like that. They're starting to look like a good oiled machine again. I feel like Lewis and May, and it's the best two. It's the best two halves going against each other, I believe. Croft and Connor, Lewis and May. I feel like Lewis and May, if you look at the stats, I think they've had more try involvements between them two than our two. However, so it's going to be a real good battle. And then you've also got, like, I'm expecting Desiree to go from 18th man to the bench. I'm expecting Booth to play, Billy Leyland. These players want to prove a point, and like you seen last week, Billy Leyland tried to prove a point. He got a ball down with three people around him. The only positive I'm taking to Leeds is Brad Arthur's massive on not getting beat at home and intensity, and we haven't been beat at home this year yet. And the occasion, it's MND round. There's going to be a lot to do, obviously, with players and stuff like that, and remembering Robbie and his dad and stuff like that. It's just a big occasion game, and like you say, this could be the game Friday night to set the league and set that charge ready for October, September time.
Yeah, and I think look, the interesting thing we said about Leeds, I was honest about it on the light show that was I expecting this. Leeds are where they are because they deserve to be where they are. When you look at the amount of stars there, it's phenomenal. I know the top of the league, but I mean, just for the purposes of people listening, right? They've got the best average for. They're coming up against the best defence as well, though, in KR. We must say that. They've scored the most tries. They've kicked the most goals. They've got the highest conversion percentage of goal kicking in the league. Credit to Jake Connor on that. The most tackle busts in the league. The most offloads in the league. So they're not doing it by halves. The least amount of missed tackles. So you're at the most meters made. The amount of key KPIs that Leeds, I mean, it's unusual.
Yeah, it is unusual to have that many in one team, Dave. But a few of these KPIs, as you can see, are very, very close. And what you have to recognise is KR's played a game less as well. I think the goal difference is only by 40. So the game in hands against what Warrington is in it. So like you said, the defence, there's nothing there. There's a point KR's way. There's a point Leeds way on the attack. It's set up to be a great day tomorrow. I can't wait for it. I think the weather might play. There's rumours that there's a thunderstorm for 4 hours before kickoff, so it could be wet and then boiling again. But the last time we were there, I think might have been last time. I'm a bit far behind. Anyway, there was a few yellow cards and stuff, wasn't there? Ash Hanley got sent, Sinfield got sent, Sue got sent. So that I think it's going to be a proper feisty game, and I think it's going to be dead close in terms of the scoreline. I'll give you it when you ask me in a bit. But I'm just excited, and I think, like you say, if they can attack, which I don't understand why Warrington didn't attack the last 10 minutes, but if the Achilles heel for me in the Leeds team is Ryan Hall. I just don't feel if teams break around coming out of backfield, I think he's fantastic. He gets Leeds on the go. Stevo doesn't do what Ryan Hall does coming off the backfield. But if teams break against us from further up the field, he's not catching them on the outside, and it leaves a big job.
Saying that though, mate, it was a good ankle tap on Ashton last week that he managed to get
right at the end. Yeah,
nice. And again, he's got to rely on that because he has lost his pace. So now it's about positioning. Again with his experience, maybe he can legislate for that. We'll wait and see. Speaking of Ash Hanley, I was disappointed for Ash last week when his try was disallowed. He's 4 points off 500 in his Super League career. He's 4 points off, so it'd be interesting to see if Ash gets that. He's been absolutely
what wasn't disallowed, Dave. It was an assist when it bounced and Steve put it down.
Disallowed.
No, I don't think he got. it looked like he bounced it, but went backwards and
That's
Sevo
right.
put it down.
Yeah, that's right. You're right. It was still a try. It was still a try. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. My apologies. But yeah, I was gutted for him. Absolutely gutted for him. And do you know what? Just before we go into some key head-to-heads, there's all, last week we built it, top of the table clash. It disappointed. We need this to fire. But there's always that. We're Warrington poor. We're Leeds great. What was it? And I think I just want to put a couple of those things to bed. We'll deal with Warrington side of that in a minute. What is remarkable about Leeds' performance last week is that Warrington got exactly what Leeds have been doing all season. This is phenomenal. This is Leeds. Leeds' season. No. This is their season stats on the left versus their stats against Wire last week, broken down.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, they scored exactly the same amount of points that they have all season, 34. They improved the defence, averaging 15 against this season. They averaged 6 against Wire. The try ratio was pretty much bang on. Dummy runs was slightly up. Goals, bang on. A higher conversion percentage. Their missed tackles was exactly bang on. Errors slightly up, as were penalties. But busts, again, pretty much bang on. Offloads, bang on. Average meters were up. So the reason I'm saying this is for anybody out there, if anybody's doubting what happened last week at Warrington, Leeds Rhinos turned up and did what they've been doing all season. That level of consistency versus season stats versus that one individual game, that bodes well for the Rhinos. It really does. That is exactly plug and play. Incredible set of numbers, mate.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. It's consistent. I feel like we've had since we won it last in 2017. I feel like a lot of people had the concept of Leeds could turn up and win on the day, but we probably could win them as well. Like it was a 50-50 where we're turning up now and teams know what they're going to get. It's just so consistent. We, as fans under Rowan Smith, and you didn't know what you were going to get. You turn up one week, you beat Wigan 42-12. You turn up the next week, you get beat 61-0 off Catalan. Where now we've got an identity. We turn up and we know what Brad Arthur wants. He wants the forwards to run hard, and then we give it out wide. And Connor's the main man for that, controlling everything.
Probably one of my biggest disappointments at the Halliwell Jones last week is that Josh Smith probably had one of his worst performances of the season coming up against Ash Hanley. Ash Hanley has been exceptional all season. Gildart is back, and it's over to Gildart. I mean, to stop Ash Hanley at this moment in time is a very, very tough ask. I mean, we've got the stats on the screen. For the purposes of the podcast, I'll go through them. Incredible. 13 appearances for Hanley, 12 thus far for Gildart this season. Both have scored 2 tries, but the assists, 11 for Hanley, 6 for Gildart. Busts, 40-21 in Hanley's favour. Breaks, 7-5. Tackles, 143-120. Missed tackles slightly up, though, for Hanley. 17 for Gildart, 28. That is the wrong graphics. 175 carries. It's not 1,000. That's ridiculous. I actually think I changed that as well, but I've not bothered to upload it. But I can tell you categorically, it's 175 carries for Hanley, averaging 8 metres, 129, 7 metres for Gildart. Gildart's numbers are great. Gildart is a great centre, but I think when you compare and contrast Gildart to Hanley, and Hanley is that good, it's incredible, isn't it?
Well, just a quick one, Dave. Will Hanley be up against Hiku? Won't he? Won't it be them two edges? And I think that's where we'll target, because if you look at Hiku's stats,
you're right.
He's got the most missed tackles in the league, Hiku. So if Davies needs to come in and help Hiku, and the offloads to Sivo, that's exactly what happened in Vegas, and that's why Davies. I was obviously in Vegas, Dave. I was behind the sticks with the Leeds fans, and after Sivo scored the try where he got it down, Davies was pulling Hiku across that many times to help him. It left this other space, and that's why we exported over there. So I believe that Peter Hiku's got the most missed tackles in the league, and I would try last year against KR when we won at KR. It was Hiku that done the missed tackle on Alfie Edgell, and we went the full length of this field, and Miller scored. So we always target that side. So it will be Ash Hanley versus Hiku, but Oliver Gildart will be coming against Newman, which has got which is a fantastic battle, Dave, because Newman's in some of the form of his life since coming back from FC. I've lost you there.
Fair enough, mate. Fair enough. We'll just take that particular slide as comparing and contrasting a very good left edge centre against a good left edge centre. But like I say, I think the case in point is true. I think we'd all say that Gildar has probably got somewhere back to that form before he went to the NRL. And Ash Hanley, for me, outside of Leeds, I mean, we've seen a little bit of this on Weekly, Hanley called up for England. I just don't think that Ash Hanley is getting the respect outside of Leeds, and
I think it's because it's the same as the lad at Wakefield, Dave, Oliver Pratt. He's not getting the respect because everyone sees them as wingers, and because they're not playing as a winger, they can't just move in. But both of them have shown equally on both positions that they are frightening. Brad Arthur, obviously, he's done it with a few players now for Leeds. Moved them about, and I think the Sean, another one's Chris Hatkinson. No one in the right mind would put him second row, and everyone was upset that Hanley lost his 5 share to Ryan Hall and got given number 4. But then look what he's produced this year, and like you say, outside Leeds, I think there's a few not taking him serious, but he's been called up to England, and he gives it, and that threat, and that's what I'm saying about the centres. The reason Sevo is going over as much as he is and Walkins, as people are saying, is because people are that scared of Ash Hanley cutting in or going round them. The wing is coming in to help the centre, and it's just giving that space to Sevo to crash over, and that's what happened at the weekend against Wyre, Dave.
Spot on, mate. Hanley, completely, for me, currently best centre in the league by a street. Before we get to your predictions, it's only right and appropriate that we pick out what, for me, are 2 critical players for both sides, and I've picked these 2, Miller and May. I think these 2 players on Friday night are going to have a massive say in which way this goes. I was so impressed with Miller at Warrington, considering he'd been out for 3 games, and I know it was through HIA, but he was out for 3 games. It was HIA or suspension, remind me.
It was banned because
that's right.
He pushed an injured player, didn't he?
That's right.
Play the ball fast.
Yeah, that nonsense. Yeah, but yeah, absolutely. So he came back, and I thought he hadn't been away, hit the ground running, absolutely superb. His numbers yet again, as they have been for the last couple of seasons, really, really good. And then there's Tyrone May, who for me at times plays in a dinner suit. He's so influential. Every time he has his hands on the ball, he just looks dangerous. And I think that these 2 players, it's dead easy in it to go Mikey Lewis, Jake Connor, Brody Croft and the likes, and
Yeah.
But
I think Tyrone
Miller out of backfield, mate, is massive. And Tyrone May, his organisational skills are incredible.
I think Tyrone May is what allows Lewis to do what he does. He controls that full KR team, and you can see it. He allows Mikey Lewis to take the headlines and stuff, but he is probably. Well, not probably. He's probably ahead of Connor. Connor and May are so influential in the teams. Either one of them could be dream team this year. But for me, I think May's just ahead in the assists and what he brings to KR. I think. And
no, Connor's got him 21 assists to 19.
Yeah, and 5, but 5 come the other night. Didn't 5 come against? It wasn't. Yeah. Was it Wyre? Yeah. Was it Wyre? No, the game before?
2 weeks ago.
5 come against them. But the Miller out the back. So, and this is why Miller's so important. What I was saying about Ryan also important because you'll kick so May or Lewis will kick over. Ryan Hall will catch it. He'll run it in, and then it's the lightning off Miller on the next phase that gets Leeds going because teams are running to defend. They're coming back, and as they're coming back, the second phase is already off Miller because he's that rapid and he bounces around and you don't know what he's going to do. And that's why our attack is so vital from deep.
Couldn't agree with you more. Right. Are you backing your boys and by how many if you are?
I have. I've went Leeds by 8.
Gone Leeds by 12.
I've went Leeds. I think there'll only be a try in it. And like I say, I expect it to be feisty. I reckon there'll be a few penalties, Dave, a few lay-ons, loads of 6-agains. The heat, the weather, it's going to be great. And hopefully, like you said on Weekly, it's the game that sparks the league to go to the playoffs and get the race going.
Yeah, I hope so. And look, I think KR we know at some point KR will probably kick into gear. I just think they've been a bit off, and it's like Leigh last week. I think, all right, they had to move the pack around because of injuries and what have you, and I get that. But they just haven't looked quite right at the moment this season, whereas you boys have been very, very consistent.
And that's what's scary, Dave. Hopefully, Leeds haven't peaked too early. We've seen it a few times where teams they've went great all season. They get the first playoff game and then they go missing that week. Off kills them if they get top two or they get beat by it. We've done it to teams in 2011. We shouldn't have won Catalan. We shouldn't have won stuff like that. But hopefully we haven't peaked. And the scary thing about KR is they are winning. Like you said, they don't look as they did last year, but they are winning, and they only lost in that last 5. I think there was 1-0. I'm guessing that was, well, I'm not guessing, I know it was the Wakefield try, which was a try right on the hooter. Yeah. So they are still in the grind against the teams that you expect to be in. So I still feel like it's going to be a grind, but if we do put a score on them, especially with our running games after KR, we've got Bradford at Magic, then we've got Catalan away, and then we've got Castle away, and then Bradford again. I feel then we can start talking top 2. At the minute, I still feel top 4, but the top, because you say it's so tight. If we lose this weekend, Dave, why a win? Wigan, you expect to win, as we've just talked. Why is back level points with Leeds with a game in hand? So we could drop all the way, and KR get the 2 points so then we're only 2 points clear, and we can go straight to 4th. So it's all interesting, isn't it?
Buts, and it's big. It's a big game, mate. It's a big game. We'll see what happens. Right, we'll get to tonight's game. Of course, we're not far off now. Warrington, of course, taking on the Catalans Dragons. Big one, this one. Just for people to know, Josh Fulis is in the 21-man squad, and Josh has scored a try in each of the Wolves' last 3 against the Dragons. But Warrington are without some key personnel, of course. Injuries are biting at Warrington at this moment in time, which is interesting. Rumour has it, pretty good authority, that it is still going to be a Hayes-Irwin halfback partnership for this game, which is good in the fact that, you know, if you're gonna say that you're gonna bring you through, then you've got to keep your faith with him. You've got to allow him to learn on the job, and that's what they're doing. So expect an Irwin Hayes partnership in there. Of course, Lindop will be another 80 minutes under his legs. I'd expect him also to play as well. The big one for the Catalans Dragons is that Ben Garcia, you'll see him there. He is back in the squad. For those, again, I just want to go back to last week's game. This is the reality. You know, Warrington season against Leeds, and it's in some areas it is a big drop off. Less busts, less offloads, less clean breaks. Dummy runs were down. Danny Walker very quiet by his own standards. 40 missed tackles when they've been averaging 29. You know, so but what I would say here is, there was a lot of this because of Leeds. I mean, you know, I'm not saying for 1 minute Warrington dropped off because they were put under the pump by Leeds, but Warrington, by their season stats against Leeds, were down, and they're going to have to improve them, because let's not forget, when these two met each other earlier in the season, Catalans won it, and Warrington should not have lost that game. They were in the box seat of that game. They were winning that game at half time. They were absolutely right in the box seat, and they ended up losing by a score 38-22. So for me, this is interesting. The two teams are very, very different on the night. You look across the stats that are on the screen, Sharpie, with the exception of average against, which is going in Warrington's favour. They have scored more tries as well, but the average against is the big one. Missed tackles as well. That's a disappointment if you're a Catalans Dragons fans. I think the thing from a Warrington perspective, again, which going back to last week was a disappointment for Warrington, they still lead the league on least errors and least penalties, which is good from their perspective. But like I say, Catalans against Warrington in Perpignan, Warrington were in the box seat, and then Catalan came back, which was, again, probably a bit of both. Catalan was switched on second half, and for whatever reason, Warrington weren't. This is not going to be an easy game for Warrington for me. It really isn't. You said Warrington win. I'm not so sure about that, mate.
The reason I was laughing, you give the least penalties away, but you've had the most yellow cards. Yeah. So but like you say, I feel like the bounce back. It's good that Bear, just like you've mentioned, I think it's going to be a big game again, because Sexton and Dodder, when they're on, they are very good together. They're getting Catalan around the pitch. Lewis Dodd has come back. I feel like he's having a great season. But it's good that because next year it's pointless. People are saying put Mark Sneed back in, but Ewan Irwin is going to be Wyer's 7 next year. And so what's the point putting him at 6 for the rest of this year? If Brodie Croft's going to be 6 next year and Ewan Irwin 7. So that it's all minutes in the tank for next season. And like if people watch the show weekly and stuff like that, Dave's already said that 2028 should be Wyers where they should be competing on all fronts. But like back to this game, I feel like the Dragons. People are saying Leigh. Everyone's saying Leigh's in contention, but Dragons are on the same points. The thing for me for Catalan is the last 5 games they've been away, they've lost 4. They've only beat York. They're not travelling well. The reason I don't have them in the playoff folder is because if you include Magic, they've got 8 games left away from home. They've only got 4 at home. Yeah. And that's the reason I don't see them in the playoffs, because they struggle on the road. And I feel like Wyer will be smitten from last week. They'll want to bounce back. And I feel like they're going to bounce back. It'd be interesting to see if James Bentley stays in your team, Dave, because I thought last week, I thought I don't know what was going on. It was like we were playing 12. But he was making tackles, don't get me wrong. He had a high tackle rate and he made a tackle on Sevo in the corner and stuff. But when your second row's only making 5 meters and giving 3 penalties away and 3 missed tackles, it's a big concern. So it'll be interesting to see if he stays within the squad. But you picked up another injury, didn't you, Dave? Did the big prop got injured? Is he named this week?
Out. No, Sipley's out. Yeah. So like I say, in the middle unit from a Warrington perspective, Sipley's out, Philbin's still out. So the likelihood is James Harrison will start in the front row with Liam Byrne. And what they did last week is
Max Wood is back, Dave.
Max Wood's back and he'll play. I think it'll be Thomas. I think it'll be Wood. It'll be Harrison and it'll be Byrne. Those will be it. Whether he brings Tom McKinney in, I'm not sure. On the bench potentially.
That's Catalans. I think that's where Catalans struggling this season down the middle, even though you wouldn't think it with the personnel they've got. But if them 4 can get on top of them, plus whoever you play behind them, do you think Holroyd will get named this week, Dave?
Possible. I mean, again, it's who knows. Adams not a million miles away. Might play reserves this week. Maybe. I think might be a game too early. I think he needs a bit of game time before he throws him back in. But again, we'll wait and see on that. But no, it is an interesting one in that respect. This man for me has been in incredible form this year. Incredible. Yeah. Ben Curry for me, he's the 13 of the year thus far. I thought he was the only Warrington player for me that came off that field with any distinction last week. I thought he did his level best. You couldn't fault Ben Curry's efforts in the game. I think him against Garcia tonight, I think that's going to be a really good battle. But I mean, Ben's numbers there, very, very strong.
It wouldn't shock me, Dave, if Ben. I don't know if it's been announced behind closed doors now, but I fully expect Ben to take over George Williams as well as captain.
Well, he's captain when Williams isn't there, so I think that's pretty much done and dusted.
Yeah.
He's signed his extension, so, and deservedly so. And I think at this moment in time, like I've said there, Josh Smith's up there as well at the moment. I mean, I know he had a bad game against Leeds. I think Josh Smith has been exemplary. Josh Fulis has been exemplary. But at the minute, Ben Curry for me is the player for Warrington, and they'll need his stewardship tonight to lead them around the park. The big problem, I think, for Warrington tonight is this, man. Is it fair to say that Lewis Dodd has redeemed any doubters of Lewis Dodd and doubters no more? Has he come back from the NRL for you and has really put any doubts to bed that he's a quality 7?
Well, he's come back and last time I was on the show, Dave, I said before the season even started, Catalan must see something because they extended his contract before he even played a game for them. Yeah. So his professionalism. This is the thing. He might not have kicked off in the NRL, but what you learn over there in terms of leadership, professionalism, because it's different level. When you come back, you can bring that to a squad, and obviously Catalan's seen that before the season even started, and then he's paid them back there. 13 assists, like I said before, you can put this graph up. I feel like Dodd is in the great form. If Dodd didn't have number 7 on his back, where we've got Connor May, I think he'd be getting talked about more. But because of the position he plays in, the two Connor and May are in that position, all the talk's going about him. So he is going under the radar, but he's having a great season, Div.
Not even been mentioned in terms of any potential World Cup appearance, which is that because he's over there? Is that because he's over there? I don't know. But I've been very impressed with him since he's come back. Very impressed with him. Right. Obviously, the programme on Sky has started, so we're going to wrap this up. Who's winning and by about how many, mate?
I think Wire will bounce back. I'm going to go Warrington by 10.
Right. So originally I had Warrington by 6. Then I went Catalan by 8. Then I went Warrington by 6. Then I went back to Catalan by 8. And my final decision is Warrington by 6. And literally I've crossed that out 5 times now. Because the only reason I'm going Warrington is I can't believe that many players are going to be off again. I mean, the likes of Hopewati was Smith, didn't have a great Danny Walker, probably his worst game of the season thus far. And that's taking nothing away from Leeds, nothing at all. But Warrington,
it's not just.
Go on, mate.
Sorry, Div. It's not just that. If you look at, I still have Warrington a better standard than Bradford, and Bradford last week at their place showed weaknesses in Catalan for me, because if it wasn't, if we're being deadly honest, if it wasn't for a camera angle, one of the tries wouldn't have been offside. Yeah. Was he in touch? They had a quick look, and they had, I think they had 3 ruled out, Bradford. So they exposed Catalan. They've still got a bit of weaknesses, but you said Danny Walker, for me in the stands last week watching, he looked like he was gassing, and this week Cruz Lehman made your team of the week on Weekly, so that's going to be an interesting battle. Yeah. There's loads of things around it. I just feel like Wire will bounce back this week from last week. I think Sam will have been into them, and but the big battle for me again is Leon Hayes and Erwin against Toby Sexton, which is very good.
Well, it's experience. It's experience versus youth, isn't it? And and these are the tests that they've got to pass. And do you know what? Warrington fans should enjoy it. These are 2 lads who've got massive careers ahead of them. Really have. They've got to learn somewhere. And it's going to be an interesting game this evening. Sharpie, mate, loved your company, pal. It's been a really good edition of Captain's Run. We hope you've enjoyed it out there as well. Enjoy your rugby league. Let's hope that round 16 throws up a couple of games that we can really start to sing about. And let's hope that that game tomorrow night, Leeds against the Robins, really does deliver. On behalf of me and Sharpie, enjoy round 16. We will be back over the weekend with more shows here on Super League Raw. But from both of us to you, bye for now.